comes back to the line. A shot to score. Cam Neely on the power play, and it's 1-0 for Portland.
Pass cross ice. Hansen one-timer score!
A man who always likes to shoot some hockey. Put the puck down on the ice and slap it.
Shot! Hayden Hill, a massive save.
The Columbus Blue Jackets are pleased to select from the Western Hockey League's Portland Winterhawks center Ryan Johansson.
Centering feed, shot and score. Ty Rattie will win it for the Portland Winterhawks, and they advance to the second round of the playoffs.
Everybody's going to get game misconducts anyway, so Sauer's going to get his money's worth.
Are veteran officials. That doesn't mean they're going to do a good job.
The Portland Winterhawks are the first U.S. team to win the Memorial Cup.
Welcome into Pucklandia. Pleased to be joined by former Portland Winterhawks star Ty Rattie, the all-time leader in playoff goals in the Western League for starters. I figure we don't need to go too far into the intro, but I always think that's kind of the one to start with for me. So how's things treating you there? Is the off season for you, Ty?
Yeah, it's off season now. And first of all, thanks for having me on, Chad. Appreciate it. And yeah, but it's the off season now. Back in Airdrie, Alberta. My wife and I lived here for a while now. Family and friends are here, so there's no better way to spend the off season than back at home.
Good. Yeah, I like that. It's it's really nice to have you on the show. I mean, I wanted to try to get some of the guys that were part of that championship team 10 years ago as part of a anniversary, and then it's hard to find people, track them down, and then I kind of took the summer off from the show last year too, so that didn't help. But with with Portland back in the finals, I've tried to this and our sister show WHL Unfiltered, I've tried to do the teams that are playing for the championship, try to find some prominent alumni, and being Portland, I thought that'd be even better, try to find some guys that were part of success here, and you were not only a huge part of the success here, but I feel like you really were one of the catalysts to turn this franchise around when you first came to town.
Yeah, I mean it's a long time ago, but I feel like I remember everything, and I still remember being drafted when I was 15 and Portland not being in a great spot, and getting a phone call from Mike Johnson and Travis Green, and just kind of reassuring me and my family that Portland is turning around, and that it's a desired organization and town to come develop and turn into an adult. So nothing but great memories. I think played there for 4 years, went to 3 WHL finals, and finally that last year we put it all together. So Portland is a special place in my heart, and it's kind of where we grew up, and nothing but good things to say about that team, that city, and that organization.
Yeah, not being in the best spot, I think, is some of the most flattering way to look at it. I mean, it was real rough around here, man. And but previous draft classes, they almost didn't want anything to do with coming here. And I remember seeing the stats that you were putting up in Airdrie, and Bantam, and just thinking like that would be. If they can get this fish in the boat, if they can get you to sign, I mean, that's going to be a big part of this turnaround. And I mean, that had to be a pretty tough decision. I mean, I don't know what Travis and Mike were selling you, but I mean, a lot of guys wouldn't have wanted to take on that kind of project.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting situation. I think I remember that draft year, and Portland was the only team that I really didn't talk to. So coming around to their pick at number 2 there, I thought, okay, they pass on me. But once they took me, it was I knew what shape they've been in the last few years. I knew it wasn't the greatest, and I know my mom for sure wasn't too pleased with me wanting to move so far away. But we had good conversations with Mike, with Travis, and another big figure in those conversations was Matt Bardsley. He got to know my old man very well. They're still friends today. and just kind of reassuring mostly my parents. I think at that time when I was 15, I was going. I was excited. I didn't care. I wanted to play in the WHL. I didn't care where it was. But I think my parents were the big selling point, and that was a lot of credit due to Mike and especially Matt Bardsley at that time.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to have Chase Delio on the show the other day as part of the same project, and I asked him the kind of the same thing, and he's like, "Well, yeah, they had Ryan Johansson and they had Nino Niederreiter and all these guys, and mentioned you," and I was like, it wasn't that long before that with that pitch to a guy like you, Ty, that they had these guys. I mean, and as far as like. I feel you really kind of set the help set the culture and the tone and made this franchise, put it in the direction that they've kind of been going ever since.
Yeah, it was like I said, I was just excited to play in the WHL. I think I grew up watching the Calgary Hitmen and just dreaming of playing in that league and obviously trying to move on. But kind of from that 16-year-old year on, it seemed like, I don't know what the magic words Mike and Travis and Matt were saying, but I remember we get Lucas Sabisa, we get all the top Euros, and before you know it, guys like Seth Jones wanted to come, and they really put Poland on the map, and now I feel like it's been a junior hockey powerhouse in the last 10-15 years, and like I said, that's all credit due to Matt, the ownership team, Travis and Mike, and it's crazy what a turnaround that was in those couple of years.
You mentioned your 16-year-old year, and that's, again, a big part of the development of yourself and this team at the same time. And, coming into it, it was, pretty exciting here in town to, finally start winning some games, get in the playoffs, and that, it was kind of a lot of us thought it was kind of a coin flip going in that first series against Spokane, ended up being a pretty eventful series. I mean, I believe the only series in Western League history that the road team won all 7 games. I mean,
yeah, that's right.
What was it? I mean, what was it like coming in, and a weird format too with building availability issues? I mean, what was kind of your thoughts coming in your first playoff series in this league?
I mean, I didn't know. I think especially as a 16-year-old, you've never been a part of a 7-game series, and I remember that Spokane team. They were a mean team. They had Kyle Beach and Mitch Wall and lots of big names and mean guys. Corbin Baldwin, lots of guys that would run around and stuff like that. But I honestly think we might have been the biggest team that year. We had that Riley Boychuk, who's was probably one of my best friends in junior hockey. Taylor Jordan was huge. Brett Ponich. So it was a physical series. It was an eye-opening experience, but so much fun. And like we said, the years before where Portland were kind of bottom of the league and almost maybe a little bit of a laughing stock of the league to win the series against probably a favorited Spokane team. I figure that was the turning point in that Portland organization, and I can still remember a lot about that series. And I remember even Game 7. I think we were down 4-0 in the game, and we came back and yeah, like you said, won in overtime, and from there then on in, I think Portland's always top of the league and always been one of the favorites now.
You mentioned a couple guys there in Kyle Beach and Lucas Spisa, and I remember they had both of those guys were hurt. I mean, Beach was on one leg and Spisa had a broken finger, and I remember them getting in a fight at center ice, and I remember just being like, push and shove. I was like, well, nothing's going to happen. Both these guys are hurt, and then it was like they threw down. It was just like, just felt like that was setting the stakes at the poker table, and that was like that's pretty serious. You know what I mean?
Exactly. There's especially in your first year junior, there's so many eye-opening experiences, and I'm Lucas Spisa at that time. I think he was in the NHL for half the year, so that was a guy you always look up to, and all those bigger guys, and just your whole first year of junior, on ice an eye-opening experience, off ice eye-opening experience, going to different high schools. So that whole year was. I'd almost say a lot of up and downs. You get homesick, but playing hockey and being just with the junior hockey guys and looking up to those older guys, Johansson, Niederreiter, Sabisa, it did nothing but good things for your career.
You mentioned that comeback in Game 7 and went in overtime, and I remember, they were down. You guys were down a few goals, and I remember being like, well, it's good, it was fun, whatever. And then you score, you guys score one and score another one, and you casually mentioned that the Game 7 overtime goal. I mean, what are your memories about that? What can you tell me about how that went down?
Yeah, I mean, still obviously remember everything. Taylor Aronson coming in the ozone, and I kind of just slipped into the slot there and got one past James Reed, and kind of like you said, it was almost like Portland. We were kind of just happy to make playoffs with the years they had before, and then to play against a favorite of Spokane, and then to beat them on the road in Game 7, and the atmosphere in the dressing room after. I remember Matt Bardsley coming in and lifting me off my feet with a giant hug. So you always remember those little things, and just going there, like I keep going back to a 16-year-old, and just you don't know what to expect, and they open you with open arms, and my billets and everyone like that is just it made the transition a lot easier. And that Game 7 win is kind of just like a cherry on top to your 16-year-old year in real junior hockey.
So, I mean, one of the beauties of this kind of format is you can go down whatever, side hole you want to go down. And it just makes me realize how long I've been watching the streaming package and the streaming these games. And it gets better all the time. And, right now the games are, TSN, nationwide feed, which is kind of nice. But yeah, I remember watching that crappy, whatever camera they had at that time, and
right.
getting to watch that goal and being being pretty excited at home watching you score your first playoff goal, which would turn out to be a hell of a way to do it, right?
Right. It's actually funny you brought that up. I was watching the Winterhawks Moose Jaw Game 1 the other night in my basement. My wife came down. She's like, "Wow, like the times have changed." My wife now, we were together actually back then too, and her and my family can barely pick out my number on the feed they used to get back then, and now it's TSN and rinkside interviews and stuff like that. So it's awesome to see how far it's come, and honestly, they deserve it because it's great hockey and it's so much fun to watch.
But the same barn, right? I mean, just in HD, it had to be a part of that, that contrast too, right?
Oh, exactly. And I haven't been back to the Coliseum obviously since I left, and I wish I could make it back there. But just to see the Coliseum on TSN the other night, it was just it brought back so many memories, and just the kind of the weird shape of it, and obviously the glass house was still one of my favorite buildings I've ever played in around the world, and special place in my heart, that place.
Yeah, it's certainly unique. It's a crazy old barn, that's for sure. But something tells me you'd have a hero's welcome if you ever make it back to town, and maybe that'll happen someday.
We talk about it, and we obviously want to go back. It gets crazy with the scheduling, obviously. But Portland's a place I'd love to go see the Winterhawks game and just relive all those memories.
So that. The second year, I mean, you guys really took off, and you were playing really well, winning games. I mean, that run. I mean, nobody in this organization had been through 4 rounds of playoffs. I mean, what was kind of like some of the battles you went through that season?
Yeah, I think that was the year that Johansson and Niederreiter came in, and obviously we didn't know too much about them, and I don't think the whole hockey world knew too much about them. And then obviously Johansson blows up, Niederreiter blows up, and they both go top 10, and they were obviously the carrying our team that year. And we had 16-year-olds like Derek Pouliot come in, Britton Leipzig, and guys that were very good hockey players. So we gradually got better all throughout the year. And we started to realize that it's not good enough to just make playoffs anymore, and it's we could do something special. And we ran into obviously a big experienced Kootenay team there that year, and it's a tough way to go, but like I said, it's that was building blocks, and that was a lot of fun. It's tough to make it that far and lose, but just to get the city back excited about Winterhawk hockey again, and putting a good product on the ice was a good feeling.
Yeah, those overtime games in that series. I mean, it wasn't like we just saw, in Moose Jaw and Saskatoon per se, but I mean, there's still, 3 of the 5 games going to overtime. I mean, it's essentially a coin flip, a fluky bounce, what have you. I mean, that's why we play series. But I mean, that was, and then up against, Lewin. I mean, that guy, you can get goalied. You can get goalied for a whole series. I mean, it's, it can be frustrating, but. Yeah, I mean, as far as, again, really having success and setting the tone for the next couple of years there, I mean, that was, kind of a big building block that you guys really laid as far as, the direction of this franchise.
Yeah, exactly. I think especially with those overtime games, it's it could go either way. And I remember we won game 1 in overtime and we were on top of the world, and then 2 more overtimes go against us, and that's just the way it is. And it was playoff hockey. I think that series only went 5 games, but it obviously could easily went 7, and a bounce our way, one more rebound dart goes our way, and we're talking about Memorial Cup for that year, but that's the way it goes. And like you said, it kind of set the table for the few years to come after that.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, it really, like we talked about, raise the bar. I mean, and then I think the fans, especially, that you guys kept bringing back, a good portion of that core. I mean, you mentioned, Ryan Johansson, Nino Niederreiter coming in, and we didn't know what to expect from them. They didn't either. I mean. You know what I mean? Like, I remember Johansson, trying to, fighting Brad Ross in training camp that year, trying to figure out what his role was going to be. I think he scored 5 goals the year before in Penticton. He didn't know what he was going to do. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I still remember that. Obviously, a junior hockey team gets very close, and Brad Ross being Brad Ross, I think all the Portland fans know him. And I remember that 17-year-old year training camp, and Joe Hansen comes in, kind of a long, lanky guy, and nobody really knew if he's on the team, if he's not on the team, what was going on. And I do remember them getting a little tilt there, and it's kind of funny. And then Joe Hansen goes from kind of maybe struggling in a junior A team and as a 16-year-old to 1 year later being a top 5 pick. So that's how good he was. And I keep going back, but Mike Johnson, he keeps turning players into pros, and that's exactly what he did with Ryan and
Yeah, that line, the 3 of those guys together. I mean, that was fantastic. And then to think that that opens up opportunities for your line. I mean, no wonder you guys were winning lots of games.
Yeah, exactly. I think you had those guys that first line, and you're never going to have your A game every single night. So when we had that top 6, even top 9 that year, that we could score a lot of goals, and if one line's not going that night, that's okay, because there was a lot of high scoring talent in that team.
That 2012 year, I mean, that Kamloops series was pretty wild, and. That was, I think, I can't speak for anybody but myself, but I think a lot of Winterhawks fans were pretty wound tight. I assume the team was wound a little bit tight. I mean, you guys were part of the biggest moment in Kamloops Blazers history in 20 years, and still is to this point. I mean, what was that series like?
Yeah, I think that was a very, very good hockey team. I think. Kind of going back, and I guess we were up 3 in that series, and I don't know what happened, but obviously Kamloops never gave up, and I just remember losing what was it, game 5, and realizing you got to get back on the bus and go to Kamloops, and nobody wants to do that, so it wasn't easy, but that was a very good hockey team. And I remember going into game 7 where that's where it gets to be a coin flip, and lucky for us, our big dog showed up that night, and we pulled it out because we didn't want to be the team to lose that 3-0.
I'm trying to. I should have done some research. I'm trying to think of who's the guy on the Blazers that he was a pest, and he had a bunch of quotes in the paper about a bunch of losers down there in Portland. He was going to come down and shut us up, and and you guys handled him that series.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure. I mean, if I was gonna put money, it might have been JC Lapon. I know he was always a pest on the ice.
I don't think it was Lapon. I think he wore 13. This kid.
13. Oh, okay. Yeah, he's a U.S. guy. He's California.
Yeah. I think you're onto it. I can't think of who he was.
Yeah, no, they had a even go up that Spokane. For my 6-year-old year, was a scary team, but that Kamloops team was a scary team. And I remember they acquired Joel Edmondson, who's a very good buddy of mine now, but he was he wasn't easy to play against, and that whole team, they had skill, and then at the same time they could run you at any second. So that was a very, very hard fought series, and a lot of fun, and just happy to be on the right side of it.
Was that the series that Oliver Gabriel knocked out Chevel Dave, and they had to go to Cam Lanigan? Was that year?
Yeah, it was actually, and I think Chevalier might have come back later on, but yeah, I remember all of Gabriel running into him, and that series had a little bit of everything. I think I ended up getting hurt in that series. Obviously, it going from 3-0 up to Game 7, so that's hockey for you. That's how close knit those two teams were in battling, and yeah, thank God that we did pull it out in the end there, though.
Yeah, talk about a guy that overlapped. When was here when it was bad, here when it got good. A guy like Ollie Gabriel. I mean, that was what was he like to play with?
He was a funny guy. He was a very funny guy, and yeah, he was there when there was some bad times, and good for him that he was there when there were some good times. And just even speaking on about the bad times, good times, my first two roommates, Curtis Pamuka and Riley Boychuk, in my 16-year-old year, two great friends that I have today, that I owe a lot to, just welcoming a small town kid into a big Portland city. And speaking of Curtis Pamuka, he had a lot of rough times with Portland there, and unfortunately for him, kind of got caught in a goaltending triangle there with us when I was 16, and they traded him there that year. So it goes to show you that guys go through a lot in junior, and just when I was about to get good with Portland, they got rid of him. But that's the business of junior hockey, and I think that was my first eye-opening experience that you're not playing minor hockey anymore, and guys get traded, guys get released, and that's just you got to move on.
Yeah, that and from the other side of the glass, where we all sit. I mean, that was a really tough one too. And as far as it's a business, but I mean, and fans that were here for that previous era. I mean, Curtis Muka is somewhat of a folk hero, and has carved out a nice role as a goalie coach now, and is doing well at that. But to see, to have him, carry this team to what little success they had during that stretch, and then to not get a cash in and be rewarded with when they could start scoring goals again, that was kind of hard for the fans to grasp. But it's a business, and they're making the tough decisions that we don't have to make, and then then they carry on. But yeah, and Boychuk, that's interesting too. I mean, just today I saw in my memories the the game, what I can't remember what game it would have been in that Kootenay series, but after they put up all these signs about how we weren't supposed to yell at the replay booth, because I sat kind of close to that after that incident, with Boychuk getting that major. And I mean, it's probably major now, but I don't know if it was at the time. I mean, that was the building had a lot of bad mojo in it at that time. And what were your memories of that incident?
Yeah, I mean, Boychuk, like I said, still one of my greatest junior hockey buddies, and still see him every now and again in the summertime. It's like we hang out every day when you see those kind of guys. And Riley was he was a funny guy. He was a very, very intense guy on the ice, and still probably one of the most built hockey players off the ice that I've ever seen. But he throws his body around there, and he protects his teammates. And sometimes when you're that big and you hit a guy that hard, sometimes refs call it like they see it, I guess. And But nicest human being ever. Greatest roommate I've ever had was Riley Boychuk, and going back to when Muka got traded there, and I was pretty homesick at that time. It was early on in my 16-year-old year, and Muka got traded, and I was like, oh, what the hell am I doing here? Like, what's going on? Like, my good friend Muka just got traded, and Boychuk kind of stepped in there and helped me out a lot, and I'd go to bat for him any day, and on or off the ice, and I couldn't be happier that he was a teammate, and I was on his side because he was a scary player to play against.
Yeah. Yeah, and a guy that probably had a pretty unique perspective of that too. I mean, the time he was here, I mean, Taylor Jordan got cut from this team, I think 2 different times and came back. I mean, there was a lot of turmoil and guys that didn't belong in the league that were here, and I mean, so I'm sure that he had a pretty good experience as far as guys are going to come and go, and we're going to go to war with the guys we have now, and that kind of thing is probably pretty good voice to have at your side at that point.
Yeah, exactly. I think he was there for a couple of years on that, so he was there for a couple rough times, and obviously when you're a team in the bottom of the league, there's going to be some players that maybe shouldn't be in that league at that point, and when a team gets good, obviously there's going to be some casualties, and often those casualties are going to be your close friends, and like we keep going back to, that's the business side of things, and I sure learned quick when I was 16 that especially when we got good, that there's going to be close friends that come and go, and you just got to kind of focus on winning hockey games, or before you know it, you could be the next one.
Yeah, especially when you get in the pros and guys getting called up and sent down and traded, and it's kind of chaos. But maybe
for sure
we get to that down the road. But after that Kamloops series, I mean that American series, I remember that being really cool. I was lucky enough to get to go to the road games of that round, so I got to see the whole thing in person, and those both those overtime goals, and the one game with Joey Baker scoring right at the last seconds to get to overtime, and I mean, let's what were your kind of memories of that building and those couple games?
Yeah, that was a tough building to go into. I think it was I always don't like those dark buildings, and I always found Tri-City to be a dark building, and it feels like the rink is smaller, and they always had that goal horn. I don't know if they still have it, or maybe not a goal horn. They go to Burger Ranch. That's what they do. I remember that now. And it felt like every time we played in Tri-City, their fans are going to Burger Ranch because they just light us up. So I know we were going to that series, just going into Tri-Cities, especially, and just trying to survive and maybe sneak out a game, because that was always a building that for the U.S. division, that was my least favorite building to play in, and playoffs was no different.
Yeah, they still have that train horn. I think it's literally a train horn. Like they have like a sponsorship with like the shipping company or something.
Really, it's either that would be bad, or Everett's horn was always very loud, and I've only experienced horns like that. Columbus has the big that big gun that goes off that scares you every time. But I remember being a visiting team in Tri-City there, and I would say 95% of the time the fans, I think they get 5 goals and they get to go to Burger Ranch. And I remember fans going to Burger Ranch a lot when we were in Tri-City.
Yeah, I mean, Shinneman and Holland and Topping and some of these guys, Huseman. I mean, they did have a lot of firepower during that era. I mean, there was definitely some battles, but that playoff round, everything's coming up aces for you guys.
Yeah, I think at that point we were hitting our stride, and especially in playoffs, when you run into a team that's really found their game and is clicking at all cylinders, we were coming in with a lot of confidence, and at that time we were going to be a tough team to beat, and I think we played some of our best hockey in that series.
Yeah, that overtime goal you had in that barn, I mean, that was I was shorthanded. I think I remember that breakout and being like, just dump and change, and you were not interested in that. You just went down and took care of it. I mean, what did it feel like to score a shorthanded overtime goal?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's exciting, and I remember coming into that year and never really penalty killing in my life. And I think it was maybe the first or second game of the season. Mike calls my name to go out in PK, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing out there, but he started relying on me on the PK, and I always remember I appreciated that about him and giving me more opportunity and more just developing my game more. And but you can't. I'm always thought offensive first, and PK never really changed that. And obviously, it came back and to burn me a few times if I would cheat on the PK, but that time I was lucky enough to get around it and finish that overtime game off.
Well, maybe it was just that long stick that you like. I mean, maybe they're thinking you got extra reach there or something.
Yeah, I still don't understand why I always use that long of a stick, but I remember it was very long in junior, and I think as you go up in the game of hockey, obviously in pro hockey, and it's obviously so much quicker, and I realized you don't have as much time and space, and this long stick is not work. I think maybe it's the same size. Who knows at that point? I'd love to see how long my stick was back in those days, but I do remember it being a little long for my body.
Yeah, it just always seemed that way anyway. I don't know, but you had that distinct stride too. Maybe because you seemed like a little hunched over, and maybe that kind of makes it look that way too. But
I've had a lot of skating coaches in my career kind of trying to straighten me out, but once you learn how to skate, you learn how to skate, and if it works for you, it works for you. But I still I think I still do hunch over like that, and that's just something. I don't know where it was, but that's just the way it goes.
No, it's like a wind up in baseball. It's like if it's working, then yeah, I mean don't screw with it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, you guys have been building over the course of your years here and getting farther and farther in the playoffs, and you started to run out of runway where there's only one place farther you could go, and that 2013 run was pretty magical. I mean, what kind of broad brush strokes on what that was like?
Yeah, I mean, after those, I guess, back-to-back finals losses, and then going into my 19-year-old year where it was getting kind of clear that was going to be my last year of junior, and realizing that you got to win, like especially for the city and especially for the team, and obviously that was our best year of hockey, and at that point in the WHL, I don't know if we could have lost. I don't know. We were a very, very good hockey team, and running into Edmonton that year, also a very good hockey team, but we had all the right pieces, and that was obviously one of the funnest years of hockey that I've had, and just to finish that off with a win. Obviously, I think we lost Game 5 in overtime at home, which would have been nice to win at home, but silver lining was it was in Edmonton, and I had all my family and friends there for that win too. So to lose two finals and then to win in Edmonton with my family and friends there was a cherry on top of that WHL career.
Yeah, I've thought quite a bit about that Game 5. That it was a Friday night in the Rose Garden. You guys had the opportunity to clinch, and I thought about it before that. I'm like, well, if they win this, like I don't know what happens. Like, do we just stay here? Like, is there an impromptu parade? Do we go downtown with the cup? Like, you guys aren't old enough to drink. Like, I don't know how any of this works. You know what I mean? Like, I was just really fascinated to see, and then and then the Oil Kings had other ideas, as far as that overtime, but. I don't know. I mean, I never seen such a thing. Still haven't seen been fortunate to see a team win the championship at home. But yeah, no, that run was and I remember listening to Troy Rachowski on the Pipeline show, and he said that Mike told him that he was better off winning Edmonton, and he couldn't even really remember why, but it made sense to him at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I remember that Game 5, and it felt like that was it. I felt like that we can't lose. Like we were going to win, and we win at home. Obviously, Portland's been through a lot of rough stretches, and this was kind of like the perfect way to finish it off. And I think it was Mike St. Croix that scored for them, and it was almost like the world ended there for us for a little bit. But like Troy Otowski and a lot of good veterans there that kind of dialed us back in. And we lost in Edmonton, I think it was the year before, so it was kind of just like, let's just go there and finish it off. And at that point, we did have a lot of Alberta guys, so I think a lot of guys, it would have been better to celebrate with the fans at home, Game 5, but to have family and friends in town for that Game 6 in Edmonton was a second best option.
Well, I mean, if Joey Baker is going to score first shift, I mean, you have to win that game, right? I mean,
yeah, Joey Baker, he was an unbelievable guy, just a very, very quiet guy, and one of those guys that would stick up for any teammates, and just an energy guy. So whenever those guys get goals and big goals, and obviously in big games, it does nothing but bring up a bench, and especially when it's a great guy like Joey.
Yeah, I remember that goal pretty vividly. I mean, we had even as the full house in there, and not standing room only, and it hadn't even sat down yet, and he scores, and I was like, this is going to be good, and
right.
Yeah, ended up having delayed gratification on that, for another day, but
yeah, exactly. That's the way hockey goes sometimes.
But that next game. So if there wasn't a Game 6, I mean that's one less hat trick for Ty Rattie. I mean, what was what was that like up there in Rexall?
It was obviously awesome. I think my old man talked to him after every game, and I just remember him kind of giving me a little bit of a pep talk and just kind of just saying, just don't let another one slip away. Don't let another championship slip away. And I think our team was pretty dialed in to end it there, that game. And we played a very good game. I think we came out hot. And lucky for me, I was playing with great guys with Batan and Leipzig, and kind of had to just get open, and those guys would always find a way to see me a puck.
Look, I get that you're contractually obligated to answer as a hockey player that shucks, the other guy got me the puck, but two of those goals there wasn't any other guys because you were shorthanded. I mean, you scored two shorthanded goals on the same penalty kill, which was pretty remarkable in itself. I mean, I at this point you got to take a little bit of credit for it.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and I think that at that point I kind of enjoyed PKing, because as a power play player, that obviously the power play is going to cheat a little bit, so on the PK you might be able to get those breaks, and in that game we did get those two PK goals in the same power play, and I think that kind of really took the life out of them, and at that point we needed to buckle down, and obviously we had Mac Ruth, who's a very good goalie, and once you get up a couple, and with Mac and with our defense core back there, it was kind of just lockdown situation, and it was kind of a perfect storm there.
Long-time listeners of the show, that if there are any, will know that I've mentioned you again being a huge part of the success of this team, and the way that your goals bookend. I mean, no one has scored more playoff goals in our league than you have, and your first one being a Game 7 overtime goal, and your last three, including the game winner in a championship game to seal a cup, and even number 50. I mean, that's pretty storybook. I mean, it's pretty hard to for the scriptwriters to come up with something better than that. And I've just always really appreciated, what you did for this team, and again, none of them were empty calorie goals. I mean, again, you look at the quality of goals we just mentioned. And we talked about the one in Tri-City that I forgot you'd even scored. I mean, in an overtime game winner. I mean, the goals you scored were quality and quantity, and that was it's pretty, again, in the playoffs when it really counts the most.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that, and you always want to be one of those players that the bigger the game, and you want to step up, and I think that's something my dad has kind of always said to me, especially in playoffs, is you want to be the guy that you be relied on, and I always kind of enjoyed those kind of moments, and obviously wouldn't be put in those kind of situations if we didn't go far in every year I played in Portland. So I don't know how many games I did play in playoffs, but three finals run and then a second round run, I think really helped, and then just obviously playing with great players helps, and then just wanting the puck in those big games, and it just worked out that way.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I mean, if the game's about scoring goals and having fun, then yeah, that's you found the right recipe for that. I mean, but the other half of that too is such a, I mean, Major Junior is such a cruel existence in that you win your league, 4 rounds of 7-game series, and then you got to go play the best of the Quebec League and the Ontario League, and only one team walks away happy, and you go through the trials and tribulations of winning the championship. That's a lot harder to earn than a round robin tournament, but it turns out that you guys made it all the way to the Memorial Cup final and just ran into Nathan McKinnon. I mean, this is that simple, right?
Exactly. I think it is a weird situation where you do win the league and then you kind of celebrate for maybe a day or two and realize like the job isn't done yet, and then you go where there are no bad teams, and the Nathan McKinnons and Drew Hands and Mackenzie Weegar was on that championship team. There's a lot of good hockey players. So and then you go to the Mem Cup finals and you lose, and you kind of forget about what we actually did that year, and winning the dub finals and then losing the Mem Cup finals, and it's tough to wrap your head around. But yeah, like I don't know what else. It was a very weird situation. It felt like we missed out on by one goal.
Yeah, and so it's and then you guys clean out day and go home, and then we don't ever really as a community, as a fan base, we don't ever really get to celebrate the accomplishments that you guys had unless you end up winning them both, and and we hang a banner the next year, but you were already playing professional hockey at that point, and then you don't even get to celebrate that. So it's kind of it's one of the things about our league and our just the way it's set up, that it can be really it's really disappointing. But over the years, hopefully we hold on to those memories of the 2 months that you fought and battled and dealt with adversity and everything else to get to that point and to win that championship, because it really is a lot more a better measuring stick than a 10-day tournament.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with that. And I still remember we flew home after Game 6 from Edmonton and getting back to the Coliseum and hundreds of fans being there. I don't know what hour it was, but it was late at night, and just knowing how much it meant to the city of Portland and how much they appreciated that was a huge boost. And obviously you'd like to finish the job with the Memorial Cup, but I think we had a mature enough group that year to realize what we did do, and that WHL Championship did mean a lot to the city and meant a lot to us as well.
Well, it's this is a unique town in that being a city, but we're not a hockey town like Vancouver, like Edmonton, like Calgary. It's it's like hockey in a vacuum in a certain way, in that would fans show up to the rink, and we definitely got good crowds in the playoffs when you were playing here, and then you kind of disappear in the no one's. I don't think anybody's really bugging you at the movie theater, right? I mean, it's kind of it's a unique balance of the fans are rabid, but then they kind of flip a switch and go back to what they were doing afterwards.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I remember in high school in Portland, sunsets and just trying to meet new people at school, and they're like, "Oh, why'd you move here?" And I'm just like, "Oh, I play hockey." And they're like, "Well, no, hockey where? Like what team?" And that was when I was 16, 17, when the Winterhawks were really struggling, and it wasn't a big pull, and slowly getting better and better. But there's obviously there's diehard fans in Portland, and especially the years that we were good, and I know they've been good for a few more years since that we all left, and I know that it's turned into, I guess, a junior hockey town, you can call it. and just seeing the crowds on TV the last game 1 and 2 there. Those diehard fans, they deserve a good hockey team, and they've got it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, we honestly haven't really had the crowd since you guys were here, or that year after you left, that 2014 team, and I mean, the whole league's kind of struggled with putting butts in seats, after the world stopped and all that, and it's been kind of slowly coming back, but. Yeah, it'd be hopefully they can win a couple games here in Moose Jaw, and we'll see what 6 and 7 look like. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so everybody plays the game at a young age with the hopes of getting drafted to the NHL and making an NHL team, and you had both of those dreams realized. I mean, I know that you probably wanted to play more and longer and all of that, but I mean that's you've scored goals in the NHL, and that's pretty special. I mean, kind of what was that journey like?
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. It's obviously gets harder in pro, and you think it's a business in junior, and then it gets upgraded to very businessy in pro hockey, and to say that you did get drafted in NHL and you played NHL games, that's an accomplishment. That's a lot to hang your hat on. And I know a lot of people in my hometown and maybe just people that I run into, they kind of bring up like, oh, we really wish you made it. And I always have to kind of stop myself and think like I did make it. And there's a lot of guys in Portland that did make it and did play in the NHL. And that's just to play one NHL game and get one NHL goal. Like that's a lot to hang your hat on. And maybe if you asked me that same question 5-6 years ago, I would have still obviously wished you were in the NHL and that you could make your career go longer. But that's the way things go, and you have to move on and prolong your career and provide for your family and enjoy the game. And that's the biggest thing I've found in the last couple of years is I'm enjoying it. In the back of your mind, obviously, yeah, you wish in the NHL, but you played in the NHL, and that's a dream accomplished.
Yeah, and it's sometimes it's hard to remember that. I mean, outside of hockey, I mean, I talk about getting stuck in traffic, right? And getting stuck in traffic sucks. Everybody hates it, right? It's the worst thing. But in order for that to be true, that means I've got a place that I live, I've got a car, I've got a job. I've got a job that's not in some weird hours or going to some weird place. Like I'm going, like things have to be just right in order to be stuck in that kind of frustrating situation. Like I have to have a lot of things going in my favor for that to even happen, right?
Exactly. And you can take it in stride, and nobody's going to be in a perfect situation. And you got to realize that it took a lot of hard work to get there. And if you got to just be positive and like I said, I'm very grateful for my experiences in North America, but at the same time, my wife and I are very happy where we're at right now, and wouldn't change that.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of guys in our league, that end up, playing in Europe, and you've played in a couple leagues in a couple countries. I mean, it's like I don't want to this come off wrong, but it's like a working vacation in some ways. I mean, what's it like to play in Europe in a couple different locales and be able to make a living scoring goals?
Yeah, I mean it's different. I remember coming off my Edmonton year and my agent calling me with the opportunity to go to Russia, and at that time I was like, oh, I don't like. I want to play in the NHL. Like, that's the end all be all. And then kind of discussing it with everyone. And at that point, Craig McTavish took the head coaching job in Russia, and I knew him very well from my days in Edmonton. And we had a lot of different conversations about it. And there's opportunities everywhere, and that's what a lot of hockey players got to realize. Is obviously the NHL is the dream, but I mean, playing hockey for a living and playing hockey in Europe, where you get to see a lot of different things and experience a different lifestyle. I'm not complaining at all, and I've played in Russia, Finland, and Sweden now for the last few years, and Sweden is awesome, and My wife and I are in a place now that where we can call Linköping, Sweden, our second home, and we've been there for a few years, and we've got a couple more years left, and we really enjoy it.
Well, I mean, they always come out with like the happiness index or whatever, like what country has the happiest people, and it seems like Sweden's always like right there at the top. You know what I mean? Like, is that kind of been you guys' experience?
I agree with that. I think it's a whole different world. I think not a lot of people drive cars. There's the walking streets. Everybody walks, and everybody, everybody is happy. There's coffee shops. It's called Fika. Everyone goes for coffee and cake at around between 3 and 4 o'clock. And just going back to Russia and Finland, it was a different lifestyle. It's something to get used to for sure. And then in Finland was the COVID year, so we didn't really get to know Finland too much. We were only there for a couple of months, but now that we're in Sweden and we really enjoy it, and my wife enjoys it, which is the biggest thing for me. And then, like I said, it's an awesome lifestyle, and it's something that I'm really glad I took that leap, and I'm enjoying my experience there.
Playing in the KHL, I mean, you don't have to answer this, but is it really, cash in a paper sack kind of? Was it? I mean, you hear crazy shit about that league. I mean, like you got anything juicy you can share, or they're going to put a hit on you, or
who knows? I don't know. I think it was a crazy time. I went there with Craig McTavish, who I was close to, like I said previously, and got there early or middle July, I guess it was. And we kind of struggled in training camp, and our team kind of struggled. And 3 games into the season, the team fired McTavish. And I remember living in the same apartment building as McTavish, and kind of just running into him. And he's just like, yeah, they fired me. And I was like, well, what do you mean they fired you? Like, the season hasn't even started yet. And I took a leap of faith here to come with you. And I was me and him were the only North Americans on that team. And so without Craig, I was like, I don't know what's next. And lo and behold, it was kind of I think me and him were a package deal, because a week after that, I was traded to a different team. So that was an experience. But then going to the new team, it's had 5 other North American players, and I had a great time. My wife had a great time. It's a different lifestyle. It's something you got to get used to for sure. But if you're there with some North Americans and you, with the mindset of making the best of it, you definitely can make it over there.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I didn't know that part of the story. I mean, a lot of us have had that kind of you change jobs because your buddy went over there, and then if he pisses them off, then it looks bad for you, or vice versa.
Right,
but
right.
Not as far as going to a different country and and a sketchy one at that. I mean, that's rough.
Yeah, it turned into an awkward situation for sure. I think I kind of knew the writing was a little bit on the wall when McTavish got fired there, and our team was struggling a little bit. But man, it was a week into the season, and it felt like the world was falling down for the team, and I guess positive side of things is the team that we went to and the city that we went to. We enjoyed it there, and we made a lot of good friends there that are actually lifelong friends. So it did turn into a grateful situation, and that's the way the hockey world works.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. But yeah, and I don't want to dwell on it, but I really thought that you had found a home with the Oilers, and I thought I was pretty excited that I thought that was gonna stick, and you were gonna have the right opportunity and turn into the player that we all thought expected you to be, as far as start filling the net, and then next thing you knew, it drew to a close, and I think a lot of us were pretty disappointed in that, and but it was kind of rough.
Yeah, that's again going back to the business side of things, and it's definitely a what have you done for me lately league, and got off to a good start there, playing with obviously very, very good hockey players. But when the team struggles and players struggle, that's the way it goes. And like I said, obviously very, very grateful, and I got to play close to home, got to see a lot of family and friends, and my grandparents got to see me play in the NHL, and I got to play in the Saddle Dome against the Flames, which was a lifelong dream of mine. So, obviously wish it would have ended better and wish it would have lasted longer. But like I said, you got to just take it with a grain of salt and keep moving on.
Yeah. Yeah, team is still looking for some stability. That's for, but I guess every team is, right. But I mean,
yeah, that's the way it goes.
Ty, I always rooted for you since you came out of Airdrie and here in Portland and in the NHL. But there was a period of time when I did not want you to have team success, and that was in the World Juniors. And as a proud American, and that was I remember that head-to-head matchup with Seth Jones, and thinking about the interpersonal relationship there and on the ice, off the ice. I mean, what was it, joking aside, I mean, what was it like, being able to represent, Canada at the highest level?
That was a dream come true. I think, being a small town Canadian kid, my earliest childhood memories would be waking up on Boxing Day after Christmas with my family and watching World Junior Team Canada and just idolizing those guys. So I remember the year before the World Juniors was in Calgary, and I was one of the last cuts, and that stung a lot, and it felt like it was just never going to happen. And you never know what's going to happen the year after. You don't know if an injury pops up or you struggle that next year. So when they tell you next year is your year, that still stings. That still, nobody knows what's going to happen in a year's time, right? So to get that opportunity to go back to the tryouts that next year and get the knock on the door with all the Team Canada apparel to tell you made the team, that was unbelievable. That was a dream come true. And then going to that tournament it was being a lockout, so all the best junior players were there, and all the NHL teams sent down their guys, and we had Nugent Hopkins and Scheifele and Dougie Hamilton and all these big names, and kind of felt like it was our tournament to lose. But at the same time, you look at that U.S. roster, and it might be one of the best U.S. rosters to date with all the big names they had on that team. But losing that semifinal game to Seth and that team, that'll still go down as probably my biggest loss in my career, and the worst I felt after a game, because it doesn't feel like you're just letting down a team or a city. That felt like we let down a country, and to come home empty-handed, that still hurts today.
Well, what's funny about it too, I mean, is just me personally, again, as a proud U.S. American, and I definitely remember the Americans winning gold, but I remembered it as Canada being in the gold medal game and coming in second, but that's not what happened. I went to look at it today, and I was like, wait, weren't they? Because I thought you guys were that good, and I just remember that. I guess you could argue that the U.S. Canada game is as good as playing for gold, but it wasn't actually that game. So it's kind of just me personally, it's kind of a weird thing. I thought you guys were made it farther than you did in that time, but I mean, yeah, I just remember seeing, like I said, that head to head. Was that in Sochi?
That was in Ufa, Russia.
Ufa, okay, that's what.
Yeah, and that was it was a tough one, I think, and obviously not an easy place to get to. Ufa, Russia, and my parents and my brother came out, and my grandparents, and just losing that semifinal of the game to the U.S. team, coming out to my family after the game. I think that's probably the only time I think I've cried about the game of hockey. I remember seeing my family and just being like, wow, they came out all the way out here and we just lost. And I remember kind of breaking down a little bit, and then just trying to regroup for that bronze medal game against Russia. And it just it feels like it almost felt like an exhibition game. It just felt like what's like, we didn't come here for this. And looking back on it now, obviously we wish we would have won that game just to come home with the medal. But that goes down as my biggest hockey heartbreak for sure.
Yeah, that's a tough one. But I mean, but at the same time, I mean, like we already touched on. I mean, having the opportunity to represent Canada. I mean, regardless of the result, I mean, it's an achievement that that most players would dream of, and very few get the opportunity to realize. Yeah,
100%. I agree. I think just talking to you here right now, I'm looking at my my Team Canada framed World Junior jersey, and that one's up with my first NHL game jersey. So those are obviously the big hockey moments, and at the same time, I'd like to be looking at a gold medal from that tournament. But you got to just realize that you played for Team Canada World Juniors. It's a dream come true, and it's a memory that me and my family will always have.
Yeah, I mean, you had 3 goals that tournament. I'm sure you know, maybe if there was more goals, you guys would have made it farther. But it wasn't like you got skunked. I mean, you know, I don't know what your expectations were for scoring that tournament, but you know, you potted a couple, and that had to. Well, I mean, let's just go for that. I mean, you know, when you score wearing the Maple Leaf, I mean, you know, with all of Canada watching back home at whatever hour. I remember it was like 1 a.m, 3 a.m, those games, but. You know, what was it like to the emotion of scoring goals for Team Canada?
Yeah, obviously unbelievable, and I think those tournaments are a little bit of it's a weird situation because you got 20 superstars like on your junior team where everyone's the top guy, and then you make this team, and you kind of need to the first week or the first couple of exhibition games, you kind of need to find out what role the coach sees you in, and those short-term tournaments, the teams where the guys find their roles and accept their roles right away, and maybe where you're a superstar with your junior team and you come to the national team and maybe you're a fourth line PK kind of grinder guy, those teams do the best where those guys realize what roles they need to have, and I think going into that tournament and realizing how many top guys we had, and I remember Steve Spott was our head coach, and he was a very good communicator with what roles. And at that point, when you make the national team, you're happy to be there. And score a goal, don't score a goal. If I put up donuts that tournament and we won, that was A-okay by me. And just got to accept your role and do whatever you can to help that team and help that country.
Yeah, well then, you know, there goes the. You know, who's played on the PK lately, and you can raise your hand because, you know, because you had been, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's another funny. I wasn't much of or I guess I was a PK with Portland, but just coming to Team Canada, I was just like, I'm just accepted any kind of role. And our first exhibition game, Steve Spott puts me out on the first PK, and I was just like, wow, like, and I was honored. Like I obviously everybody wants to score goals, but when a head coach of Team Canada puts you out there for the PK, you're going to throw your body on the line. And I remember I was very honored and very happy to be a PK guy on that team and accepting any role that they gave me.
Well, I can tell you, Ty, after spending an hour with you, I mean, obviously I can tell. I mean, you know, we all know the physical tools that you have, and you know, as far as the you know the approach to the game and probably also life. I mean, that's, you know, no wonder that you've had, you know, success as far as you have, and, you know, still playing professional hockey today at a high level. You know, I've kept you for some time. I should probably let you get back to what you're doing. Do you have any, you know, kind of final thoughts you want to throw out here to Portland fans, to Western Hockey League fans before we wrap this up?
No, I appreciate your call, and any time that I get to talk about the WHL and especially my time in Portland and the friends I made and the memories that I made there, I'm always happy to talk about it. And some of the greatest 4 years of my life where you learn how to be a hockey player, but more importantly, I grew up in Portland. I going through high school and just kind of learning how to moving away from home and being a grown up. So like I said earlier on, I couldn't have asked for a better situation with Portland, with Mike, with Travis, with Matt Bardsley, and just the city of Portland welcoming me in their arms. And couldn't have been happier to talk to you tonight. And I appreciate you reaching out, and I had a great time.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time, Ty, and you know, best luck moving forward.
Thanks, Chad. I appreciate it. Have a good night.